It all kicks off with a monster taking a devastating hit. The scene quickly cuts to an office, where the boss is screaming his lungs out at Song, calling him useless and asking how long he's gonna keep doing such a trash job. Totally defeated, the MC hangs his head and apologizes for the mess-up. A coworker walks by, sarcastically pointing out that everyone is always talking about how terrible he is at what he does. Super awkward, the employee just gives a forced laugh and nods along. Outside of work, Song walks around lost in thought, reflecting on how a global war has started, but he can't even feel the weight of it in his daily grind. Exhausted, he faceplants onto his bed and lets out a massive sigh. Meet Song Isiok, living in a tiny, messy room while trying to dig for the remote in the middle of that disaster zone. Once he finally grabs the clicker, he complains that he's barely surviving and has absolutely nothing to show for his life. Turning on the TV, a reporter is hyping up a famous taekwondo star for a huge win, and by total coincidence, the guy's name is also Song Isiok. The MC just stares at the screen, mind blown that they share the exact same name. With that, he sits on the edge of the bed, Hype 19, 34/17/2026, and G himself up. Flashing back to when he was just 9 years old and training in martial arts, he gets into a fighting stance. Determined to show off some of his old moves, our guy charges across the room to land an epic kick. But when he kicks a cardboard box, he ends up wrecking his foot, and the bone snaps in a totally cringe-inducing way. Whining in absolute agony, the dude grabs his foot and yells as loud as he can. He collapses onto the mattress panting, and just hopes this counts as an accident so he can skip work the next day. Looking back at the TV, he praises the athlete, admitting the guy is the real pride of the nation. But then the sad reality hits him. It's crazy how two people can have the same name but totally opposite lives. Back when he was a kid, he genuinely believed he could grow up to be anything. Dropping the bad vibes, the young dude decides to just go to sleep, remembering he has an early shift tomorrow. Suddenly, voices echo in the dark, cheering that the summoning was a total success and thanking the hero for saving everyone, leaving our guy completely clueless. Opening his eyes, he realizes he's sitting in the middle of a glowing magic circle inside a massive hall. All around him, people are celebrating and losing their minds with joy. A woman in a hood walks up with a warm vibe and welcomes the great hero. Not understanding a single thing, he just stares at his own hands, trying to process the madness. The jump scare is so real that he ends up falling backward, completely shook. Looking outside, you can see the MC ended up in a massive otherworldly castle and is just trying to make sense of the crazy situation. Calming down a bit and chilling in a fancy chair, he asks why on earth they brought a guy like him to this place. Super politely, the hooded woman asks for permission to explain everything going down. She starts by saying they've been fighting a nightmare-level demonic threat for a long time. These monster enemies showed up to wipe out humanity with zero chill. With fast and devastating strikes, the creatures started absolutely wrecking the kingdom's forces. The soldiers tried to push back with everything they had, but their captain got seriously busted up. A brutal magic attack hit the commander dead-on, yeeting the poor guy away. The battlefield turned into a total disaster zone, with warriors getting tossed around like ragdolls. The enemy leader had this totally cold, overly confident look during the clash. Using some insane dark power, he rushed the survivors without giving them a single second to block. Heavy armored knights got crushed and snapped like it was nothing. The creature stood tall on the battlefield with terrifying claws, flexing just how overpowered it was compared to everyone else. The priestess cries about how they took L after L and were totally steamrolled by the forces of evil. Facing this absolute crisis, the king had to take drastic measures and dropped an urgent decree. Following royal orders, the people started using magic to summon overpowered warriors from other worlds to protect the villages. Hearing the lore drop, the dude freezes in his chair as she reveals the village was actually trying to summon the ultimate taekwondo master. Totally hyped, the woman screams the name of the famous TV athlete, genuinely believing she summoned the big hero. Realizing the massive mix-up, the young dude grabs his head in pure panic, noticing they pulled the wrong guy because of the matching names. Trying to process the absolute chaos, he puts his hand up and tells the woman to hold on a sec. Deep down, he knows if he spills the truth right now, he'll get shipped back to his miserable life and stay a total loser. The painful memory of his boss screaming and treating him like garbage at the office flashes right back. Then he remembers that annoying coworker who always clowned on him. Sick and tired of taking the disrespect, the guy decides he is completely done with his flop of a life and refuses to go back. Lifting his head, he agrees to completely steal the warrior's identity. Striking a dramatic pose with tons of fake confidence, the MC announces that he's gonna save this place. The hooded girl is amazed and thanks him, basically crying tears of joy. Outside, the villagers hear the promise and go wild, celebrating their savior's arrival with huge sighs of relief. He looks at this crowd of hopeful people, feeling a major pit in his stomach over the massive lie. The crew immediately decides to throw a feast to celebrate, while the fake hero just prays he can somehow keep faking it till he makes it. The village quiets down as night falls after the massive welcome party. A bit tipsy and holding a mug, he tells the woman he's gonna step out for some fresh air before crashing, and she respectfully says goodnight. Walking near a spooky forest, the guy mutters to himself that the booze in this world hits way harder than regular beer. Suddenly, a mysterious dude with pointy ears sneaks up from behind and asks if he's the village's only hero. Still kinda buzzed, the guy slowly turns around and asks if the dude is a local too. With a dark look, the stranger finds that weak posture seriously disappointing. The enemy drops the disguise, revealing a grotesque, giant-eyed monster form, and mentions the guy doesn't look dangerous at all. Before he can even blink, the beast lunges and aggressively grabs the fake hero. Completely shook by the bizarre creature, he screams in panic, having zero clue what's going on. The villain dangles the young dude in the air and mocks the villagers, saying if he's really the savior, breaking free should be a piece of cake. Tossed brutally onto the forest floor, the guy goes into full panic mode trying to scramble away. The giant monster stares down at its prey, while the MC realizes with absolute horror that he is in actual danger. Then he decides to get up, hyping himself up with the false hope that the magic specifically summoned his name, not the athlete's. Clenching his fist, the guy charges the creature, truly believing he might have unlocked some hidden overpowered ability. But reality hits like a truck when the enemy easily dodges and slams him into the dirt, making him realize it was just the liquid courage talking. Wasting no time, the monster gets ready to wrap up playtime. In a flash, the creature lands a ridiculously hard blow on the MC. The fake hero feels the crushing impact, learning the hard way that he stepped into a massive mess and has zero way to defend himself. Laid out on the ground after that brutal hit, the MC lets the heavy feeling of defeat sink in. He sadly wonders if this is already game over, right when he thought he could finally do something useful. The vibe that everything is gonna end in such a depressing way leaves the guy completely frustrated. The fake hero hesitates, remembering how his daily routine was always so empty and boring. The memory of him walking alone through the city streets just proves how invisible he felt to the world. Tossed on his cramped bed, the guy concludes he simply didn't want to live such a lame life anymore and fade away without leaving a mark. Fueled by that desperate need for change, his hand twitches, suddenly overflowing with crazy energy. The monster instantly notices the vibe shift and locks onto its opponent. Wrapped in an intense aura, Song stands up out of nowhere, flexing an absolutely absurd amount of power. Without a second thought, he charges and lands an epic full-power strike on the enemy. The impact is so insane that the beast gets yeeted far away, totally losing its balance. A massive energy explosion wrecks the scenery around them, proving just how heavy that attack was. Absolutely clapped by the charge, the monster takes major critical damage all over its body. Even in that terrible state, the creature still finds the nerve to taunt him, asking what he thought of that. Standing tall with his arm still smoking with energy, the guy claps back, asking if that's enough to prove his strength. The young dude's fearless stance finally shows he isn't playing around anymore. The enemy just stares calmly and tells him to hold on a second. Staring at his own hands, the fake hero tries to process how he just pulled off something so wild. Far away, a mysterious woman watches the whole thing from above, looking super impatient. The girl confidently states that her story with this guy has only just begun. Back in the woods, the pointy-eared guy turns back to his original form and calls out to his opponent. He admits that at the end of the day, that giant monster was actually pretty weak. Seeing the normal dude again, the young guy lets out a massive sigh of relief that he didn't end up as dinner. Trying to make it make sense, Song guesses he unlocked a secret skill that only activates when he takes damage. The stranger immediately questions his skill, making the guy panic as he remembers how easily he folded the creature. To test it out, the man holds out his hand and dares the savior to punch his palm with everything he's got. Still a bit freaked out, the MC asks if the dude is seriously asking for that. Gathering his courage, he throws a straight punch right into the guy's hand. The impact is zero, and the man sarcastically asks if a mosquito just landed there, while our young dude apologizes, whining in pain. Dropping the joke, the stranger offers a hand to help him up and calls him a great hero. The guy explains that the defeated creature was actually an elite beast, custom-made to fight the Demon King. Super awkward, the guy rubs the back of his neck and apologizes for unaliving the pet. Playing it cool, the man says it's really no big deal. Pointing his finger, he reveals he already found the perfect replacement for the beast. Far away, the mysterious hooded girl finally drops her name, Diable. Strutting down a fancy hallway, she brags about having unique magic that only answers to her. The girl adds that the person she is completely obsessed with is right straight ahead. A blinding light fills the room, leaving the young woman absolutely amazed. The glow is so bright that Diable has to cover her face so she doesn't go blind. Throwing herself on the floor being completely extra, she hypes up the Demon King's looks, claiming she's gonna lose her sight. Slouching on his throne, the ruler lazily tells his servant to drop the theatrics every single time she shows up. Hyped up, the girl immediately agrees, doubling down on how much she idolizes her boss. Looking like an absolute boss, the king walks across the hall while Diable narrates that he's the most overpowered entity in existence. The sovereign never holds back and shows zero fear when it's time to throw down. Stepping over fallen enemies, the leader proves he has zero chill for anyone who gets in his way. Locked onto her main goal, the mage keeps explaining things super seriously. The supreme leader carries a massive burden on his back because of this hectic lifestyle. Looking out the castle window, the girl mentions that everyone in the realm is loyal to him, right as she hears screaming outside. Down below, some old dude armed with a staff is trying to crash the gates in the middle of a blizzard. Furious, the human boomer swears to take down the king, while Diable notes just how much of a grudge he's holding. The sovereign asks if the girl went sneaking around the human village again, considering he recently had to deal with knights. Outside, the guards quickly pack up the angry old guy with barely any effort. The mage offers to take care of the problem, but the ruler figures it's better to just wait for the trespassers to leave on their own. Annoyed by the whole thing, she thinks about how the enemies are getting way too bold with these attack attempts. Hearing more trash talk from below, the young girl worries that a seriously dangerous invasion might actually hit the kingdom. Determined to fix this, she swears she'll personally handle the security for her beloved master. To put her plan in motion, the girl traveled undercover straight into human territory. Using fake bandages, she faked a monster attack so she could infiltrate and study how they act. Getting treated by the locals, the girl played the victim card perfectly to win everyone's sympathy and fly under the radar. With Oscar-worthy acting, she took on the persona of a sweet priestess that everyone completely trusted. Her acting was so flawless she kept the whole lie going for 2 whole years. Until one day, a royal notice completely shook up the boring village routine. Checking the quest board, she found out the humans wanted to gather mages to try and summon a warrior. Taking charge, the undercover spy told the others that the spell's accuracy depended entirely on how hard they focused. The magic circle lit up the huge hall, ready to pull in the savior of humanity. Playing 4D chess, the mage decided to sabotage the ritual by holding back some of her power. The goal was to completely botch it and pull some useless scrub instead of the actual chosen one. Forcing the magic to grab someone with a similar name, she fired off the spell expecting the worst possible outcome. But the blinding flash from the summon left the girl totally stunned. Chewing her nails in total panic, she realizes she accidentally summoned someone with straight-up god-tier power. Frustrated in the middle of the woods, the servant rage cries over accidentally buffing the biggest threat to her master. With a dark look, she remembers there is only 1 month left before the warrior is called to the palace. Back in the present, the pointy-eared guy warns the MC about that exact same deadline. Pumped about the dude's hidden potential, the stranger swears he's gonna train him into an unstoppable unit. Just hearing the word training, the fake hero shrinks back knowing his peaceful days are over. Hiding her true colors, Diable plans to personally wipe out all the heroes herself. Meanwhile, the MC decides to hide his trash stats and roleplay the perfect savior while he figures things out. Exactly 1 month later, the big final summoning moment goes down in the epic royal palace. Chilling on his throne, King Edarin welcomes the squad of warriors, super relieved they finally showed up. These are the elite chosen ones meant to save the kingdom, looking like an absolute powerhouse team. Walking with purpose, the guy steps into the royal hall rocking his new combat gear. Deep down though, he admits that the 1 long month of training didn't actually make him much stronger than before. The armor they tossed him looks totally basic, compared to the heavy-duty gear the other warriors are wearing. Watching from a distance, Diable notices the fake hero seems totally spaced out. Annoyed, the priestess swears to end the guy right there, convinced he's already plotting to take down her master. Right then, the monarch starts yapping again about the massive threat the enemy leader poses. The Demon King is described as a total psycho who almost wiped out the entire kingdom just because he was bored. Hearing those wild claims fills the undercover servant with pride for working for such an iconic and feared boss. Tons of brave mages and knights already got clapped trying to fight the dangerous dark army. However, the sovereign finds it super sus that the villain has been acting so quiet lately. Missing the point, the MC figures this chill period should be a major green flag for everyone. The king hard disagrees, warning that the enemy is a ticking time bomb cooking up something bad. To clear this threat for good, there's only one single path left for the warrior squad. The heroes will need to take down the 5 main enemy generals one by one to collect the castle keys. Undercover, the demon's servant realizes the humans literally handed an entire domain over to her to look after. Then some guy steps up, totally cutting off the long, intense, dramatic speech. Going full panic mode, the king literally begs on the floor for the heroes to bring peace back. Cringing at the scene, the young guy asks the ruler to please get up from that embarrassing pose. But the long-haired warrior loses his patience and snaps that the monarch talks way too much. Stretching lazily, he sums up the quest by saying the whole point is just to put an end to the villain. The other fighters watch their teammates' toxic attitude without acting too surprised. The big dude of the group cracks his knuckles, totally down to skip the filler and get straight to business. Suggesting a totally unhinged change of plans, the long-haired guy proposes they skip the exhausting team road trip. With a brutal smash that completely wrecks part of the hall, he proves he isn't playing around. With zero respect, he suggests the warriors just fight each other right there in the castle. His crazy idea is that only the absolute strongest survivor should go solo the enemy. The monarch is utterly shook by how completely insane and clueless this dude is. Right behind him, the buff teammate is already getting into a fighting stance, in case they actually greenlight the idea. Stressed by the absurd situation, the fake hero desperately tries to figure out how to ghost this entire mess. Faking concern, the priestess tells the group to chill, but inside she's popping off at the idea of them destroying each other. Facepalming, the guy cringes at the irony of calling these walking red flags saviors. Completely hyped, the fighter keeps pushing the idea that they should do a battle royale until only one is standing. The MC wonders if a squad this mentally unstable can even function in a real fight. Feeling the terrifying aura of his teammates, he mentally debates if he can just sneak out the back. Suddenly, the silver-armored warrior breaks the silence, calling the whole act completely pathetic. Stepping up confidently, he roasts the group for flexing their egos while the kingdom is literally on the edge of a cliff. The armored warrior scolds the guy for throwing a childish tantrum over cheap bait. Acting super superior, he claims this behavior just exposes how low-tier their opponent's world really is. The tension hits maximum as the two lock eyes in the middle of the hall, ready to throw hands. Annoyed by the lecture, the long-haired fighter backs off and decides to just change the subject. Turning to the throne, the armored dude asks what the massive payout is for taking out the enemy. The question catches the MC completely off guard, since he hadn't even stopped to think about the loot yet. Keeping a low profile, the disguised priestess starts sweating over where this chat is going. The monarch explains that anyone who can mess with mana can become a top-tier mage. Those born with this special energy basically get a free pass to master the mystic arts. Annoyed by the history lesson, the warrior demands to know what this has to do with the main objective. The answer drops. The enemy leader's body is holding an absolutely insane amount of this divine energy. By absorbing this power after the win, it'll be possible to create life and totally flip reality upside down. The team's heavyweight pays close attention to the details on this crazy broken ability. Even the masked heroine is intrigued by the legit chance to rewrite reality however she wants. With that kind of god-tier strength, the winner can literally wish for anything they want. Confused by the lore drop, Diable wonders why her master never uses magic in fights. In her memories, the sovereign refused to cast spells because he figured raw physical strength was already overkill. Absolutely fuming, she thinks the humans are basically begging to get wiped out immediately. Satisfied with the answer, the armored warrior announces everyone is moving out to the target right now. Acting purely on impulse, the long-haired fighter grabs his teammate, demanding they settle who is the strongest right now. Locked onto the mission, the silver warrior shuts him down, saying he has zero time for this nonsense. He seriously argues that every second wasted here means more people getting unalived. That noble comeback makes the fighter pause for a second, totally killing his vibe for a brawl. Soon after, the heroes start leaving the massive royal hall in a surprisingly chill way. The MC lets out a huge sigh of relief, realizing at least one person here actually has a working brain. He concludes the armored dude is the absolute carry of this ridiculously dangerous squad. Giving up on the drama, the long-haired guy lets out a frustrated sigh and agrees to stick to the plan. Before walking out, he drops one last taunt, saying fighting in such a cramped room would be lame anyway. Banging his staff hard on the floor, one of the advisors signals that the VIP meeting is officially over. With the GPS set, the intimidating warrior squad leaves the palace, ready for the big hunt. Outside, the fake hero thanks the priestess for being there, while she mentally hides her urge to end him. The beautiful night sky gives off a totally fake sense of peace as the squad starts the long road trip. Somewhere else, a dude calmly asks if the savior squad has already hit the road for the showdown. With a sarcastic smirk, the purple-haired guy replies that he tried giving them a hand but got totally ghosted. As the warriors dip, the royal advisor nervously vents about how toxic and completely selfish that group is. King Edarin just stares out the window into the night, bummed that they have zero choice but to bet everything on these guys. Far away, someone informs the purple-haired ruler that it's finally time to make a move. With a chill, focused look, the Demon King simply nods at the update. Heavy footsteps echo hard across the shiny palace floor, kicking off a totally uninvited home invade. A horned demon pops up, stretching his arms super casually to announce that humanity's free trial is over. Rocking a super cynical smile, the creature says what's up and mentions he's here to handle some seriously annoying business. The human monarch goes completely quiet in the face of this terrifying threat, crashing his spot. Holding up an ancient scroll, the invader reminds them that a deal cut by the king's ancestors locked in everyone's fate. The creature casually paces around, explaining that the royals were explicitly banned from calling in outside backup for protection. The advisor violently gulps as he hears the threat about breaking the terms of service on this major contract. With a killer glare, the demon makes it crystal clear that the penalty for treason is complete deletion. Sweating bullets, the king bitterly curses the absolutely brain-dead deal his ancestors signed back in the day. The invader clowns on the royals for sacrificing themselves by summoning heroes, joking that he wishes his own boss had a heart like that. Standing in the middle of the hall, the creature points out that a contract is totally legally binding and dares them to complain. Annoyed, the invader notes that going rogue and summoning saviors crossed way over the line. Keeping his poker face, the monarch guesses the heroes are currently causing major headaches for the enemy troops. The demon actually agrees with the king, admitting things have totally gone off the rails on their end. Wasting zero time, the ruler drops a massive red magic fist on the creature to instantly cancel the chat. As pure chaos wrecks the room, the king calls out to Diana in a heartbreaking final goodbye to the blonde advisor. Ugly cries, apologizing for dumping such an insane burden on someone else. Even with all the destruction popping off, the demon king keeps his face totally iced out and unbothered. Betting on the future, the human monarch swears that if the warriors survive the training, they're gonna take the W in this war. The king's body finally gives out to the damage, while someone from far away promises his sacrifice won't be a flop. Outside, the blonde advisor runs for his life, swearing the ruler's sacrifice wasn't for nothing. A wholesome flashback shows a hand gently patting a red-haired girl's head. The girl flashes an incredibly genuine and warm smile as she gets the comforting head pats. Snapping back to the present, the demon king locks onto the name song while the king's voice echoes, begging for the villain to get taken down. Far away, the fake savior is running out of breath, wondering why the heck he's doing so much cardio all at once. Sprinting down the road in full panic, the dude complains they are running straight into the first enemy general's turf. A few minutes ago, the undercover priestess casually dropped that if they took this route, they'd hit their targets way faster. The armored warrior instantly hit like on that idea and ordered everyone to speed run the hike. Back to the cardio, the MC remembers this entire nightmare started precisely because of that trash decision. Watching his teammate literally flying ahead, the dude gets super salty that the guy ordered a sprint while using a literal jetpack. Completely gassed, the fake hero loses his mind seeing the leader zoom through the sky like a cheater while he's down here dying on foot. Noticing the absolute try-hard energy from the rest of the squad, he realizes asking for a water break right now is literally impossible. The long-haired fighter runs like a wild animal, flashing a creepy smile and looking way too hyped for this mission. Out of nowhere, one of the warriors zooms by on a sci-fi hoverbike, leaving the MC completely flabbergasted. The biker complains the road trip is boring without any aggro, and suggests they use the downtime to do an icebreaker. Super chill, the guy introduces himself as Lack Miller, and says he wants to use the magic wish to cancel the war in his home world. The masked girl introduces herself as Sherry Feng, and admits she hasn't really figured out what she's gonna wish for yet. Flying up ahead, Enzo Cardeda bluntly announces his only goal is to speed run this and go home. Literally passing out from exhaustion, Song tries to wheeze out his name while fighting for his life to keep up with the squad. The giant Jacha flexes his energy and happily mentions he's probably gonna ask the king for a ridiculous bag of cash. The feral guy's name is Poinanda, and he screams like a lunatic that he might just apply for the Demon King's job. Annoyed by the Silver Leader's vibe, Poinanda clicks his tongue, making it super obvious he's a hater. With a snarky smile, he points out the armored dude has been non-stop complaining since they left. Trolling hard, the wild guy pretends he only joined the squad to pay for his sick boyfriend's meds. Making a totally goofy face, he taunts the leader, asking if a sad backstory will stop him from glaring so hard. Enzo isn't amused at all and claps back, saying the fighter is just a walking spam filter ruining everything. The trash talk gets cut off when the armored guy points ahead, spotting something super sketchy moving. Going into pure try-hard mode, he goes on high alert, charging his tech arm for whatever is about to jump them. A nasty-looking monster drops from the sky, digging its claws into the dirt, making the MC sweat bullets from pure terror. The fake hero enters total panic mode seeing that the first legit threat of the run finally spawned in for the kill. Hiding in her hood, the mage secretly pops off at the chance to test the squad's stats and yells a fake warning. Quick on the draw, Enzo warns the chat that the giant creature is bum-rushing them. The monster blurs past the scenery, completely ignoring the squad's front line. Tracking the enemy's movement, the armored leader figures it's just a low-level trash mob. Prepping a heavy swing, the feral dude lifts his massive hammer and says this won't even be a warm-up. Syncing up with his hot-headed teammate, Enzo charges his futuristic gun's core, ready for the finisher. Wombo comboing the attack, Enzo shoots a laser while Punanda smashes the beast, hyping that nothing is gonna stop their run. A massive blue energy blast deletes the ground, swallowing the monster without giving it a single frame to dodge. The sci-fi blast is so overpowered, it lights up the whole creepy forest like a flashbang. Absolutely shredded by the ruthless combo, the creature gets reduced to ashes, proving just how broken those two are. Shook by what she just saw, the mage steps back, realizing this duo's power scaling is completely busted. Super salty, the armored dude yells at the wild teammate to stop kill-stealing his targets. Refusing to take orders from anyone, the long-haired fighter screams back twice as loud, starting a massive screaming match. Leaving the two to argue like literal toddlers, the MC keeps walking, feeling kinda embarrassed he panicked over absolutely nothing. The big guy easily carries the massive luggage, and announces the crew is already getting back on schedule. Heavy footsteps set a fast pace for this completely unhinged squad's road trip. Struggling to keep walking, the fake hero tries to ignore his teammate's circus act while catching his breath. Looking absolutely mentally drained, he questions if an epic fantasy quest is supposed to be this much of a mess. Thinking back to the stuff he used to read, he figures his crazy team is basically trying to speed run the levels. Out of nowhere, a crazy loud scream cuts through the quiet, catching the dude entirely off guard. Hitting the brakes hard, the squad spots a distant voice begging for help in the middle of a danger zone. Enzo announces he's pushing forward, leaving the MC totally confused about where he's even going. The fake hero chases after his teammate without having a single clue why they are rushing. Next thing they know, they run into a house on fire, exposing that the village is under attack. A helpless kid is crying his eyes out while being held hostage by a super shady-looking bandit. Punanda instantly jumps in, putting one of the thugs in a chokehold while demanding to know what the heck is going on. A bald boss-type yells, flexing his ego, claiming the village belongs to his gang now and everyone needs to bow down. Enzo roasts them, saying they look more like bottom feeders, and tells the scrubs to get lost right now. The goons get triggered and charge in, but the tech warrior blasts them with an energy beam. The blast hits the invaders dead on, dropping the meatheads with zero effort. Watching the mess from afar, Jacha jokes that this country really has it all, from monsters to basic street thugs. Absolutely mouthing over seeing his guys floored, the bald boss demands to know who these randoms are. Keeping his icy vibe, the armored dude just preps his sci-fi gun for round 2. With zero patience for small talk, Enzo fires off a devastating laser that completely wipes the goons off them. The invader boss starts sweating bullets, realizing he just messed with the absolute wrong squad. Punanda lets out a totally psycho laugh as he gets ready to throw hands, leaving the bald boss traumatized. Moving like a beast, the long-haired fighter lands a brutal hit that yeets the enemy away. Punishing the stagger, he follows up with a clean punch right to the boss' face. Without giving them a single frame to breathe, the feral warrior goes crazy on the rest of the game. The pure hype in his eyes makes it obvious this fight just became his personal playground. Away from the brawl, the masked girl walks up to the rescued kid and sweetly asks if he's okay. Still traumatized by the whole thing, the kid asks who these overpowered people are. Sherry kindly explains that they are heroes, well, at least for now. Watching Punanda absolutely bully the thugs, Song thinks to himself that his own teammates act way more like villains. The chill village instantly turned into a total disaster zone with all the cross. Deciding to be useful, the fake hero walks over to the kid to try and get him to a safe spot. A massive shadow drops right behind Song, who quickly shoves the kid behind his back. Super busted up, the bald leader complains he has no idea where this annoying squad even spawned from. The giant goon raises a massive axe at the MC while the boss yells at them to get out of the way. Staring down an instant game over, Song completely freezes up, not knowing what to do. The dude literally doesn't move a single muscle, even with the massive weapon about to smash him. With a barely noticeable lean, the MC just tilts back, completely dodging the swing. The axe slams into the ground so hard it kicks up a massive dust cloud. Feeling super awkward, the fake hero scratches his neck and says thanks for the random save. Enzo pops up right next to him looking like he completely expected this guy to flop. The silver warrior demands to know why an allegedly summoned hero needs to be bylaid out of a tutorial-level fight. Landing a clean kick that sends the enemy flying, Enzo tells his teammate to learn how to defend himself. Getting absolutely roasted, the guy looks down, feeling the heavy reality of his own uselessness. The memory of his old boss screaming at him in the office comes rushing back to haunt him. Catching bad vibes, he wonders if his trash life actually got any better since he spawned in here. Hanging out in a tree nearby, Punanda watches his teammates' totally pathetic display very closely. Flashing a curious smirk, the wild warrior notices a super sketchy detail about the guy. He realizes the dude literally didn't even try to dodge the heavy attack from the goon earlier. The craziest part is the coward didn't even blink or look away from the lethal strike. That completely unnatural reaction makes the hairy fighter seriously rethink Song's actual power level. Deciding to test a dangerous theory, he jumps out of the tree directly at the MC. Landing smoothly, Poinanda casually asks if his name really is Song. Confirming it, the dude nods while internally screaming about how creepy and weird this teammate is. Skipping the small talk, Poinanda straight up asks when he's gonna stop sandbagging and show his real stats. The fake hero tries to deflect, pointing out the rest of the squad basically wiped the lobby already. Flashing a dangerous smile, the fighter pushes him to drop the act, saying he's been downplayed way too much. Out of nowhere, Poinanda raises his fist and literally gets ready to deck his own teammate. Suddenly, a bloody hand grabs the warrior's arm out of absolutely nowhere. The bald leader uses his last HP to yeet Poinanda away with a surprise attack. Completely clapped from the last round, the bandit boss spits blood, barely able to stand up. The throw sends the feral fighter flying across the map out of control. Caught completely off guard, the MC just watches the mess without hitting a single butt. Sliding across the dirt, Poinanda easily recovers his balance like a pro. The bald leader's eyes pop out of his skull as he realizes trying to sneak attack was a massive mistake. Furious about getting interrupted, the warrior speeds in to instantly counter the goon. A sharp blade flashes through the dust, kicking off a totally merciless combo. With one fast and brutal strike, Poinanda lands a critical hit that fully unalives the invader. Covered in dirt, he casually complains that the blood stained his whole face. Getting back on track, the fighter wipes off the mess and asks what his teammate was trying to say before the interruption. Right then, the wild guy pauses for a second, noticing a weird shift in Song's vibe. Sweating bullets, the fake hero makes up a totally fake excuse that he's just saving his mana for the boss fight. With the threat completely wiped, the locals gather around to thank the squad and wish them safe travels. The unhinged team wastes zero time and instantly starts speed running again, leaving the MC dying of exhaustion on the road. Trying to make small talk on the run, he calls out to the priestess, who replies politely but secretly prays he shuts up. Locked in, he asks if she has any solid intel on the first enemy general they have to fight. The disguised mage's eyes completely change as she gets a flashback of that monster's scary vibe. An old memory pops up showing a young Diable pulling up to the dark castle full of totally extra hype. A horned woman looks down at the tiny servant, looking extremely confused by all this random energy. The mysterious warrior easily figures out this loud kid is the new intern the boss mentioned. Trying to score brownie points on day one, young Diable shyly asks what the big boss likes the most. Looking super chill and intimidating, the enemy general spills that the king loves keeping the place spotless and organized. Taking the advice way too literally, tiny Diable starts scrub-rushing the place, kicking up a massive dust storm in the hall. Looking super proud and covered in grime from the grind, she gets the Demon King's attention to brag she cleaned the entire castle solo. Showing zero interest, the boss questions her life choices and bluntly says she completely wasted her time. At that moment, the general bursts out laughing right behind her, roasting the kid for not spending that time actually leveling up. Completely crushed, the young servant gets insanely mad, realizing she just got clowned on. While the woman laughs her head off, the girl is mentally screaming over falling for such a stupid prank. Snapping back to reality, Song whispers that the mage feels like a toxic sister-in-law, but quickly plays it cool when she asks what he just said. Focused on the run, Enzo checks the horizon and deadpan announces they've finally hit the checkpoint. Once they process the creepy scenery up ahead, the team pauses for a sec, trying to figure out how bad this is gonna be. The fake hero stares at the massive dungeon from afar, realizing this nightmare zone is the first general's crypt. Staring at the massive spooky structure, Song nervously mumbles that this is where the first enemy general is hanging out. Enzo casually drops that the original plan was to stealth in and scout the area first. But Poinanda is just way too hyped and screams that they don't need any of that weak stealth gameplay. Not waiting for anyone, the wild fighter rushes in screaming that they're breaching straight through the front door. Heavy footsteps echo hard through the castle floor, proving the raid has officially started. A glowing magic circle spawns on the floor the exact second the invader touches down. A massive explosion pops off, throwing fire everywhere and wiping out the entire drop zone. A white-haired girl with horns looks totally confused by the random noise ruining her vibe. Meet Arressian, the General of Destruction, who stands up looking through the dust and demands to know who just crashed her server. The demonic warrior just waits in complete silence, trying to see through the thick smoke. The dust starts clearing, showing the outlines of the unwanted party crashers. The hero squad stands tall in the castle hall, ready to pull aggro. Running completely out of patience, Enzo roasts his teammate, reminding him they literally just agreed to play it safe. Poinanda just turns his head, totally ghosting the silver leader's lecture. Scanning the squad, Arressian easily puts the pieces together and figures these guys are the legendary heroes. Suddenly, the general locks eyes with one of the party members, catching a weird sense of deja vu. She says out loud that she's definitely seen that guy somewhere, making the undercover priestess sweat bullets. Diable enters full panic mode, terrified her cover is blown since it's been years since they last saw each other. Dropping the thought, the horned girl changes her mind and decides it's literally impossible she's seen him before. Stretching confidently, Arressian promises that literally no human has ever survived a 1v1 with her. The disguised mage just watches the intimidating general, trying to hide how freaked out she is. Skipping the dialogue cutscene, Poinanda jumps in with his massive hammer, screaming he gets first dibs. The demon girl reacts instantly, spawning gold magic circles all around her. The hairy fighter cancels his air attack the second he notices she just spawned homing missiles out of thin air. Going totally relentless, Arressian spams the explosives at him, forcing him to back off into the fire. Watching the mess, the undercover priestess whispers the general's name, remembering just how broken her kit is. She notes that her ability to spawn and control explosions on command is still totally busted. Millennia ago, a rumor dropped that beating the Demon King would bring people back from the dead, sending tons of humans to raid the castle. But everyone who tried their luck just got ruthlessly clapped by the general's overwhelming explosions. Sitting back super relaxed, Arressian warns them that if they can't even get past her, they are never making it to the boss room. That massive fail from the past proved that pushing into her zone was a one-way ticket for humans. Desperate screams and massive explosions basically define the castle's history, all thanks to this absolute unit of a guard. Hyped about the chaos, Diable notes no one has even tried to challenge them since, and wonders how many here are actually gonna make it. Scanning the room, the general squints as she notices someone else in the group making a move. The giant Jacha steps up to the fake hero and calmly states he's also joining the lobby. Loving the aggro, Arressian happily asks if anyone else wants to try their luck against her. A quick flash marks the start of the buff guy's explosive dash into the fight. Moving way too fast for his size, Jacha closes the gap, rushing straight at the enemy. Looking right at the absolute unit, the demon girl critiques his strategy of rushing straight down mid. Flexing her confidence, she mocks his attempt, thinking the big guy totally miscalculated her defense stats. Spawning more magic circles, she warns him that frontal pushes are pure garbage and gets ready to fire. But she instantly gets confused when her target literally vanishes from her screen in a split second. Using his broken speed stat, Jacha teleports right behind the general, catching her entirely off guard. Realizing she's in the danger zone, Arressian frustratedly notes she has absolutely 0 frames left to dodge. The giant readies his fist with a totally locked-in glare, ready to absolutely deck her. But before Jacha can even swing, Poinanda flies in and smashes his own teammate with his hammer. Going completely feral, the wild guy screams that she's his target and tells his teammate to get out of the way. Keeping his cool, the giant glares at his ally and mutters that he totally saw this toxic behavior coming. Arressian is left completely stunned, watching the two invaders literally fighting each other right in front of her. Getting her focus back, the general runs the numbers and realizes how close she was to getting clipped. She figures if she had delayed her attack for even 1 second, she would have taken massive damage from both of them. Jacha tanks the hammer swing like it's nothing, proving his physical defense is off the charts. Trying to keep the hype up, the big guy notes that a 2v1 should be an easy W. But the reality is they just keep shoving each other in the arena, with Jacha complaining about their absolute trash teamwork. The fake hero just spectates the train wreck in silence, unable to believe how uncoordinated his own squad is. The armored warrior watches the pointless shouting match, looking extremely disappointed in the team comp. The blonde masked heroine watches the mess, facepalming over how childish her teammates are acting during a boss fight. Enzo just stands there processing the massive second-hand embarrassment his team is serving up to the enemy. The silver leader finally hits his limit and mutters angrily that he literally just said they are on a tight timer. Completely raging, Enzo charges his tech energy and screams at the top of his lungs, demanding to know what the heck they are doing. Flashing a total killer glare, the sci-fi warrior decides to dive into the mess to force some order. In the blink of an eye, Enzo pushes in wielding a massive blue energy blade right at his own teammates. Caught off guard by the friendly fire, Poinanda uses his heavy weapon to try and parry the surprise slash. The armored dude tells the feral guy to move, accusing him of blocking his line of sight. Pissed off by the interruption, the wild fighter screams back that Enzo is the one ruining his fun. Losing whatever patience he had left, Jacha jumps in and tells the leader to drag this hot-headed idiot. Keeping the pressure up, Enzo grits his teeth, calling both of them annoying little brats. Watching this absolute clown show, Arressian is insulted that these guys are literally using her as background decor while they argue. Hiding in the back, Diable lets out a heavy sigh, admitting she'd also be furious over this zero-respect behavior in a fight. Tired of getting ghosted in her own boss room, the general charges at full speed, totally consumed by rage. Pulling out a sharp knife, Arressian dares the chaotic group to just attack her already, swearing she'll end them all in one breath. Reaching out, the demon girl spawns a brand new, highly powered magic circle, focusing all her aggro on them. A massive and way deadlier missile locks onto the trio, still beefing in the middle of the arena. A devastating explosion hits the exact spot of the argument, swallowing everything around in a massive cloud of fire. Unable to block the ridiculous impact, Ponanda gets yeeted into the sky, ending his little tantrum the hard way. Giving zero chances to recover, Arressian rushes straight for her target. The general is super locked in, flexing her hardcore combat experience. With a heavy impact, she lands a massive blow on the wild fighter. Checking the stats, the demon girl quietly analyzes the damage output. But Ponanda doesn't even flinch, and happily announces the brawl is finally getting fun. Swinging with everything he's got, he brings the giant hammer down while she perfectly dodges it. The attack totally misses and just wrecks the castle floor instead. Instantly, the long-haired dude jumps up, already prepping another sketchy attack. Out of nowhere, the fighter gets completely outplayed midair. Using her insane speed, the general teleports right next to him, ready for the punish. With a devastating kick, she connects perfectly and sends the invader flying. The horned girl lands smoothly and just stares at the squad without dropping a single word. Chilling behind a blue energy shield, Enzo watches the whole thing incredibly frustrated. The tech leader complains that mindless button mashing does absolutely nothing against her. Totally oblivious, Ponanda tells him to mind his business and swears he's going back. Charging up her ultimate, Arressian gathers a crazy amount of energy in her hands. Completely ignoring the red flags, the stubborn warrior rushes in for another frontal assault. The punish is instant, and the horned girl lands another flawless hit on him. Unable to pop a shield, Ponanda gets violently thrown against the rocks. The painful crash leaves the animalistic dude completely stunned on the floor. With the arena clear, the general calmly asks if the rest of the lobby rage quit out of fear. Far away, Jacek takes a deep breath, trying not to lose his mind in the middle of this disaster. Hiding with the rest of the squad, the big guy asks if they're ever gonna actually draft a real strategy. Slowly standing up, Ponanda acts tough and claims plans are for losers. Letting his ego take the wheel, he promises to keep running head first until she finally drops. Watching this cringe display, Arressian covers her face, getting massive second-hand embarrassment. Sick of his childish throwing, the big dude throws his hands up and officially gives up on helping him. Right after, the busted-up fighter calls out to the MC with zero chill. Sweating bullets, the fake hero tries to play peacekeeper, suggesting the team at least talk it out. The hot-headed guy just shoots him a death glare, making it clear he's not open to comms. Running out of patience, the general fires off an explosive spell and calls the squad a bunch of rats. The flaming missile cuts through the air and crashes right down on the hero's camping spot. An absolutely insane explosion wipes the zone, kicking up tons of fire and debris. In the middle of the nightmare, the MC only hears the horrifying sound of something snapping. Sadly, the fake hero takes the hit directly and suffers some crazy critical damage. Diable looks pretty thrilled with the scene, while the narrator confirms the team's first elimination. Enzo taps his earpiece. I scold as he mathematically records his teammate's massive fail. Badly bruised, Ponanda stares at his fallen ally and mutters that the guy definitely knew how to dodge that. A blurry memory of the guy pops up, highlighting his sad exit from the server. Completely motionless, the MC's body just accepts it's game over in the worst way possible. Jacek asks how the mage barely took a scratch, and she smugly replies she only popped a shield for herself. Ignoring the chat, Ponanda sprints straight toward his downed teammate. The wild fighter's eyes go wide, unable to process the random tragedy. Kneeling next to Song, he realizes in pure shock that the guy actually logged off for real. The MC coughs up a ton of blood, while the narrative hits pause to explain this huge mess. Flashing back to 1 month ago, the mage meets up with the pointy-eared instructor. Back in the secret training arc, the mysterious guy mentioned he figured out the dude's hidden spec. He explains that upon taking a fatal hit, the kid respawns with absolutely monstrous physical stats. The master adds that this insane power boost only lasts for 20 seconds. Beaten up on the floor after the tests, the MC thinks this cooldown rule is total garbage and super unfair. The fake hero starts panicking, realizing he's literally going to have to get deleted in every single fight to be useful. Shaking with fear, he remembers the crazy pain from the recent sneak attack. Pure terror completely hijacks his brain as he relives the feeling of that dangerous blade. A painful flashback hits his mind, showing the exact frame of that brutal hit. Totally traumatized, he screams in absolute despair, facing the nightmare reality. Watching this meltdown in the garden, the instructor calls his student a total drama queen. Lost in the dark void of passing out, a voice tries to wake the MC from his coma. Looking out the window, the mysterious guy sarcastically notes that sleeping for 2 days straight is a bit much. The young dude wakes up with a jump scare, sitting up in bed and completely refusing to believe he was AFK for that long. Super casually, the master confirms the stats, leaving the guy's jaw on the floor. Continuing his serious talk, the instructor reveals he only gets to use this skill 3 times a day. If he spams it past the limit, his fragile human brain will literally blue screen to handle the trauma. The fake hero just listens quietly, totally understanding how dangerous that nerf is. Pacing around the lit room, the guy concludes the kid only gets 1 minute of full strength daily. The reality check hits the young dude hard, making him super anxious about having such a tiny buff window. Turning around with a serious vibe, the master warns he needs to be upfront about something annoying. He calls his student by name, dropping into a super formal tone. The MC waits nervously while the guy suggests he just drop the entire training arc. The coach admits that this broken power could technically clear the Demon King, but it doesn't suit him at all. Looking him dead in the eye, the mysterious man swears the kid wasn't built for sweaty lobby wars. Apologizing for pushing him so hard, he promises to find a bug to send him back to Earth. But looking down and deep in thought, the fake hero instantly rejects the offer. Gripping his bedsheets, the guy announces he's gonna keep grinding to build up his pain tolerance. Blown away by this random burst of willpower, the master praises the brave kid's stubbornness. Staring at his own calloused hands, Song admits that returning to his total flop of a life would be way worse. Flashing back to his soul-crushing subway commute, the MC wonders what would even happen to his totally empty life. He reflects on his zero purpose and the massive weight of having absolutely nothing to look forward to. Looking completely locked in, the guy decides that playing the hero is his one true shot to reroll his life. Even completely battered from the grind, Song looks up and agrees to keep pushing with everything he's got. Jumping back to the live battle, the enemy general notices that the heavy blow wasn't enough to delete him. Super curious about the dude's insane tank stats, she dares the invader to throw a real attack at her. Without backing up a single inch, the fake hero plants his foot and instantly switches to full aggro. Carried by his newly awakened buff, the young dude rushes the castle's deadly guard like an absolute beast. Arressian reads the fast approach and starts realizing her opponent completely swapped his playstyle. Using the busted arena debris for a speed boost, he closes the gap in a literal blink. The jump's impact shatters the floor as the dude flies like a homing missile at the shocked enemy. The crazy speed of the push catches the horned girl off guard, forcing the general to panic roll back. Far away, the survivor squad is still grouped up, trying to draft a strategy that isn't complete garbage. However, Poinanda watches the whole thing completely stunned, seeing the teammate he called trash actually popping off. Feeling the pressure of the fight spike hard, the general catches a familiar and seriously dangerous vibe. The demon warrior gets a flashback to the killing intent she felt as a kid facing a wild beast in her nightmares. Looking at the battered dude, she realizes the fake hero's aura is throwing off that exact same lethal energy. For the first time in ages, Arressian mentally questions if she is actually getting outscaled by a random human. The silver leader pinches his face, trying to contain his massive rage over the squad's total lack of coordination. Right then, a dangerous explosive drops straight toward the tech warrior without a single warning ping from the enemy. Totally triggered, the hairy fighter yells that his teammate literally just spawned back in and is already about to get nuked. Running on pure instinct, the MC jumps up and intercepts the projectile before it can wipe his squad. Sticking a flawless landing after blocking the hazard, he hears his armored teammate quietly tell him to chill. Annoyed by the block, the horned girl demands to know what kind of messy strat they are trying to pull off. Watching the chaos from a safe distance, the giant Jatch sarcastically jokes that you can barely even call this a plan. The squad leader runs the numbers and notes the enemy has the totally unfair advantage of spamming both melee and ranged. Enzo thinks about her rapid-fire magic compared to the team's super heavy melee dives. Staying completely cold-blooded, the tech warrior concludes the team just needs to perfectly mirror her strat. The wild guy flashes a totally unhinged smile, loving the idea of throwing her own garbage back at her. When Jachai asks about any weak spots, the undercover priestess tries to dodge the question so she doesn't leak her boss's secrets. Pressured by the squad, Diable quickly makes up a lie that ripping off the monster's arm equals an instant W for them. The buff warrior instantly buys it and hardcodes that fake tactical info into his brain to use later. With the sloppy strat locked in, the savior squad rushes the territory's dangerous guard altogether. Arressian sarcastically comments she was literally dying of boredom waiting for the invaders to stop camping. Seeing only the silver leader pushing straight down mid, the general mocks him, asking why he's solo pushing. Enzo states with total calculator energy that he doesn't care at all about the enemy's sad lore or whatever her deal is. Flanking the side, Poinanda trolls his armored teammate, calling him an annoying boomer. The tech warrior admits to himself that the nickname actually hits a nerve, but he keeps all his focus on the main target. Spawning her magic rings, the demon girl promises she's gonna hunt down and delete every single one of them at her own pace. Ignoring the toxic trash talk, the armored hero aims his sci-fi gun right at the opponent's head. Arressian wastes zero time and instantly fires off one of her heaviest missiles straight at the dangerous armored sniper. Enzo quick draws, shooting a blue energy blast that intercepts the enemy's nuke midair. The general's eyes go wide, shocked that the invader actually managed to cancel out her lethal drop so easily. The midair explosion forces the horned girl to throw up her arms to tank the crazy shockwave. Flashing a totally hyped look, she admits it's been a minute since she had a legit shootout with someone. Flexing her ridiculously broken stats, Arressian summons a massive nuke, telling them to brace themselves. Enzo shows absolutely zero fear and tells the warrior to just bring it on already. The human's totally reckless vibe makes the general laugh out loud, thinking his fake confidence is completely pathetic. Landing an insane jump, the guard launches herself into the sky, ready to drop the white mechanic on the squad. The horned girl claims the hero team turned out to be a massive letdown and swears to pull the plug on their run. The tech sniper just pulls the trigger again, firing another bright energy beam across the map. The warrior tracks the blue beam's path and wrongly assumes he completely whiffed his shot. Down below, Poinanda is rushing in, prepping a dirty sneak attack aimed right at the airborne enemies. That's when the general finally connects the dots and realizes the actual 200 IQ play behind that missed shot. The laser actually snipes the explosive Poinanda was about to throw, proving the leader was just laying cover fire for his teammates' push. Using the perfect mid-air opening, Song spawns like lightning, swinging his weapon right at the stunned enemy. Using her own explosive as a riot shield, Arressian blocks the slash out of pure survival instinct. She glares at the MC, totally furious, realizing he just upgraded into the biggest threat on the entire server. Without dropping a frame, the general follows up with a massive kick that instantly pushes the guy away. The fake hero slides across the rough arena floor, sticking a flawless landing after the heavy parry. Now officially tilted by the fight, the horned girl spawns a completely ridiculous arsenal of missiles aiming straight down. Keeping the ranged support going, Enzo spams his energy blasts, trying to counter the literal rain of fire. The silver leader speeds across the map, dodging the non-stop explosions while literally never taking his finger off the trigger. Riding the insane cover fire provided by his teammate, the MC jumps in, totally hyped by their duo synergy. The guy taunts the sniper, telling him to try harder while he gets a totally free lane with zero obstacles. Analyzing their flawless co-op, the castle guard acknowledges that dealing with this sniper is a massive headache. Even while getting totally pressured from every angle, she still perfectly dodges Song's rapid-fire swings like a pro. The general's locked-in stare finally confirms that the fighter right in front of her is absolutely not a normal human. The fake hero cranks up his combo speed, desperately fishing for one tiny pixel of an opening to finish the boss fight. Away from the main clash, Enzo stops shooting for a second, just checking his teammates' DPS. Dropping his combat stance, the tech leader lowers his weapon, realizing he doesn't need to babysit the push anymore. The MC hits an insane top speed, literally disappearing from view into blurry blue energy trails. Arressian feels an instant red alert when the enemy's presence suddenly spawns right behind her. With a perfectly timed strike, Song lands a heavy hit on the warrior's back, completely breaking her posture. I scold, Enzo casually drops in the voice chat that he only let the kid take the kill because the general's ping got way too high. Capitalizing on the massive opening, a heavy step triggers a huge burst of energy on the arena floor. Poinanda rushes the target with everything he has while his teammate blurs right past him. Completely hijacked by the hype of the hunt, the fighter tunnels all his vision onto the enemy. Flexing his ego, he announces the general should consider this finisher a massive honor. Already airborne with his giant dual blades, the hairy dude brags it's been years since he clapped someone who was basically AFK. Then his foot slams down hard, hitting the brakes on his sprint to charge up his ultimate swing. The feral warrior is completely dialed in, not showing a single drop of hesitation. With max power, he brings the weapon down in an absolutely merciless, destructive swing straight at the target. 7% convinced the attack was a clean hit. The wild guy prematurely calls GG's in the most toxic way possible. Raising his blade to the sky to flex, he screams at the top of his lungs, hyping his own victory. But the celebration gets instantly cancelled when a massive dark spike spawns out of nowhere and completely impales the fighter. Watching the scene unfold, Enzo is left totally speechless and screams his teammate's name in pure panic. Hiding under her hood, the disguised priestess feels a twisted sense of satisfaction, absolutely loving the hero's tragic downfall.